What?
All right.
What?
No countdown. We are live.
All right. Are we live? Okay. Good evening, weird friends. This is Morgana Calder with Weird Awakenings. Tonight I'm joined by our friends from Where in the Folk, Tully and Cecil, our awesome friend Stephen, and fellow weird teammate Rich Restucci. Tonight we're talking about the Philadelphia Experiment. Thanks for joining me, guys. All right, guys, grab your tinfoil hats and let's slide down this rabbit hole. Legend has it that on October the 28th, 1943, the USS Eldridge, a Cannon-class destroyer escort, was conducting top-secret experiments designed to win command of the oceans against enemy powers. It was rumored that the government was creating a technology that would render naval ships invisible to enemy radar, and in the Philadelphia Naval Shipyard, it was time for a trial run. Witnesses claimed that a strange blue-green glow surrounded the ship as her generator spun up, and then suddenly the Eldridge disappeared. The ship was then seen in Norfolk Naval Shipyard in Virginia before disappearing again and reappearing back in Philadelphia. All right, guys, government cover-up, hoax, something else. What you got?
Lots of weirdness,
Yes,
for sure.
very much so.
I believe that it was the earliest renditions of us trying to get, our events technology to work properly, and it didn't work properly. There was a few big names that were involved in it, allegedly, and it was that guy with the crazy hair, Albert,
Einstein.
Prince
Albert somebody or other.
yeah, Albert somebody or other, and Nikola Tesla. So they apparently it was like a joint effort between those two. From what I've always heard, is a joint effort between those two to help us with our stealth technology.
Okay. So you think it failed, but do you think that they've corrected it since?
Well, do you want to get into the craziness of it? Oh, like what they say happened right now?
Yeah, absolutely. Yep.
So apparently it had 2 test runs, right? And on the first test run, it lit up this green. They were chiefing like madmen, like the smoke was just flowing. But it lit up this like blue-green, and then it kind of faded away. And when it came back, everybody was real sick. There was a pile of bones and guts laying there of somebody, and one dude's hand had fused to a bulkhead. However, hand fuses the metal on a nanoparticle or whatever. And so they decided, well, this is a good idea. Let's go ahead and do it again. And on the second one is whenever it popped up in Norfolk, and there's actually rumor that it popped up in somewhere in New York too. But that's kind of the
One of the accounts that I saw said that after that first run, they were supposed to calibrate it to where it was radar only evasion, and they screwed up the calibration.
Wait a minute. The government screwed something up?
Come on. It's amazing, ain't it? And like, so apparently that one just jumped around, but this time everybody was completely fused to it. Like, there's half bodies laying, like you could walk downstairs and you could see somebody's legs dangling. And this is the reason that I think the thing that made it solid in my mind that was true. Nikola Tesla apparently backed out because he wanted to get either a belt or a bracelet, I can't remember, that would keep them from fusing to the boat when it teleported. And the government said it cost too much. I was like, that sounds like something we would do.
Right.
Yeah, just rub some dirt on it, you'll be fine.
Yeah.
Yeah. Probably a $2 little piece of something around your wrists.
Just chew gum and pop your ears. You'll be good.
Yeah.
Right.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
Anyway, that was the Philadelphia Experiment.
Yeah. Everything I've read on this right here, heard, the Navy has always denied that this ever took place.
Mm-hmm.
But in 2019, the Navy filed a patent for an anti-gravity device. So,
Well, I mean, you have to think about the time it was. I can't imagine. Well, I guess I can imagine what technology looked like back then. But you think about the kind of tech that is. I would lean toward either well, definitely some sort of external involvement. And I don't know. I know I've talked to you guys already about how sketchy the 1800s are as far as history goes. So I don't know if it was tech that was just dug up and like Tesla was experimenting with it and they were trying to find a practical application. But I definitely don't think that, like Rich said, I don't think they took two stones and rubbed them together and came up with the tech.
No.
I think it was like giving a child a loaded gun. Like they just didn't know how to work it and they weren't really listening to the quote unquote experts.
Developers.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, this right here is the thing that's always been fascinating to me. Is I like to. I don't know if you've ever heard of a guy named Klaus Donna, but he's the guy that goes around does the seminars with the UPAR or out of place artifacts, things that are not supposed to exist because they're too old and civilization would have been too advanced, according to what science tells us today. So. But
yeah, so that's kind of on the same track. That's tracking.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, if you really dig into like the alternative history of the world, it's pretty fascinating. We're going to be doing an episode over some crazy stuff whenever we get our lives lined out.
It's probably going to be multiple episodes, but we would love to have
everybody.
Love it.
But it all comes down to Tartaria too. Have you ever heard of the Tartarian Empire?
Tartarian, no.
The Tartarians are suspected to be an advanced civilization that lived for many years and was wiped out by some kind of catastrophe. But whether it was man-made or natural, it was basically a mud flood, and not the type that you get after you eat Mexican. Like it took over the whole world. And so I don't know. Like it's really interesting because if you look at it, you know, have you ever been to a town and look at a building and like the ground is cutting the bottom windows right in half? It looks like if you dug down, it'd just be more window.
Actually, yes.
Yeah. So basically, if you look around and when they excavate these places, like they did here on Main Street one time, when they dig down, they find more building. So who would have built?
You mean deeper than the foundation?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So who would have built the building, 10 feet deeper than the foundation was?
Well, I would think that it sunk. The building just sunk, But if they found evidence of more building beneath the foundation, well, that changes things.
The reason I bring that up is because of Nikola Tesla's tied to this. It's believed that Nikola Tesla had the technology from the Tartarians, and that's where he came up with his earthquake machine, the death ray, and this Philadelphia experiment. The earthquake machine was fun. What was that toy? He turned that earthquake machine on, and they called the cops out.
Yeah, it was just like almost like I guess what you would like on the Matrix. I'm trying to put my words together, like how it created almost a shock wave.
Imagine that it's Saturday night.
Didn't it shake a block or something?
Yeah. Imagine it's Saturday night and you got the most badass system in the town and you're getting wasted drunk with 3 of your friends. Crank that shit on 11. That's the type of neighbor Nikola Tesla was, apparently. They just call the cops on him all the
time. Hi Laura, hi Linda.
Hey, ladies.
Yeah. Yeah, on the big shaker that Tesla had, supposedly Mark Twain, who was a friend of Tesla, used to like to get on the shaker, and he always wore the white suits.
This is the second time today I have heard that story.
Really?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, it is.
Yeah, well, his part of his white suit turned brown, I believe.
He found the brown note.
Yeah. Oh man.
My mom trying to cut out.
That big fancy mock's cutting out on you.
Yeah.
Damn.
We're on to something.
Yeah. Government's overreaching.
All right. So let's back on track a little bit.
All right.
But yeah, that was another thing too, because it's been years since I really did a lot of research into it too. And I remember that it supposedly led into other projects that they worked on, government and all that. I think it was the Phoenix Project, maybe, that was supposed to have been, like stemming from the Philadelphia Experiment, because why weld all these people to a ship and everything one time? You can do it 4 or 5. But, and I think that one was based out of Long Island.
Yeah.
Yes, the Montauk Project.
Yes.
Montauk's a crazy one.
Mhm.
One thing that did any of you read? Did you, when you was researching, did any of you run across the people that actually survived the Philadelphia Experiment and why none of them talked?
Well, didn't they forget about it?
No. There was one story of somebody that came into a bar in New York after being on the ship, and he was actually talking about, and he just burst into flames.
You
Like
mean he
people-
spontaneously combusted?
Yeah, like people were spontaneously combusting. People were just turning into liquid. Like something to do with the way that they did the teleportation messed with their genes and like the way their DNA was structured to where it just collapsed on itself.
Well, if you want to talk about this being a tested unified field theory, then you're messing with electromagnetism and gravity and combining them together, and who the hell knows what that can do? I
Well,
could think that could liquefy somebody pretty quickly.
You're also
don't know.
talking about time space at that point,
Of course,
because whenever they showed up in Norfolk, apparently it was 10 minutes and past from what I was reading, and once they came back, and this is what I was thinking of a second ago, a lot of them started forgetting what happened, I guess, mid teleportation. So it could be even more than just time and space. They could have bled over into a parallel universe or anything for a minute.
Yeah. There was one guy that just completely disappeared in a long time ago. You could find this on the internet. You might still be able to. But it's kind of in reference to what you were talking about, Stephen, with the guy that handles artifacts that shouldn't be there. Well, this guy disappeared off of the boat from the Philadelphia Experiment, and they were doing an excavation, I believe, in Africa somewhere, and they found a skeleton that was around 200,000 years old. And on this skeleton, it had a watch, and it was that guy's watch.
Wow.
Yeah.
I had not heard of that.
That's one of the theories I read 10, 15 years ago about it.
Wow.
Might not exist anymore.
Yeah.
Well,
Yeah,
back
what-
to the I'm sorry, go ahead, Steve.
I'm sorry, Rich.
No, please go ahead.
Well, you were talking about somebody who may have talked about that. Well, Al Bielek was the guy who appeared on Coast to Coast AM with Art Bell back in the 90s, who claimed that he was one of the engineers, I believe, on the ship. He claimed that the people who were inside the ship were not affected in the same way that the people on the deck of the ship were affected by that. But whether you want to believe his story is true or not, I mean, it's entirely up to you. So
the way I think about it, if that guy did go back in like time like that, maybe they were entering a wormhole or something, and like in mid wormhole, he's like, "Screw this," and just jump ship, and ended up in some different time.
Yeah, but that circles back to unified field theory, because if they're messing with, if they're trying to combine electromagnetism and gravity, infinite mass and infinite gravity are related. So if you have something with infinite mass, maybe when they teleported, they hit something with infinite mass or infinite gravity, then that could explain why they couldn't remember anything, because it never happened for them. Time slowed down for them, and it sped up for us. And so, or it didn't speed up for us, but it slowed down for them because of, straight back to unified field theory, because it was, the gravity was such that it slowed time down. And if it did that, that would, first of all, that would give you your skeleton. If somebody fell out of that and moved away from one serious electromagnetic field or gravitational field into a slower or a faster one, that it could kill them instantly. And then the other people couldn't, maybe they didn't remember anything because it never actually happened.
That's true.
It's
My cryptids are paying me a visit right now.
Well, and they never have admitted, completely what it was supposed to have accomplished. I mean, there were theories, of different things, but I know even with it and with Montauk, they were trying to like simulate black holes and stuff like that. So who's to say, during their simulation they didn't accomplish something?
Yeah. And
Right.
another thought that's kind of trippy, you think about what CERN's been doing since 2012. What if the younger, or well, I guess older generations, what if there was something similar like that happened after all of that, like little details that people started noticing that we just don't know about anymore.
hmm
Or just didn't pay attention to.
Right.
Right.
One of those for me that I 1,000,000% believe in that still messes with my head is the battleships in World War II. Now, when you go back and look at them, how they're all colorful and like it's crazy looking.
What
Like
do you think?
I remember like dull gray, like regular destroyer looking ships, and now if you go back and type in like World War II, battleships, you're going to see things that look like zebras, and it's in black and white, but these things were like super colorful schemes. And there's like a whole big explanation now of why they did it that
Trying
way.
to break up the water and everything so they couldn't tell distances and exactly what was there.
Yeah, I'll try to let me find a picture real quick. I'll show you what I'm talking about.
That was crazy. I mean, I was the same way. I mean, I can remember studying World War II in school and in college, but I don't ever remember seeing, zigzag black and white ships.
Yeah, check this out.
So they're trying to say they was painting them for stealth, basically.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, but I can't tell you how many World War II documentaries and stuff like that and recreations that I've watched, and I've never, ever, ever seen this until you start digging into Mandela effects.
Mm-hmm.
So check this out. And like I said, these are black and white. These are just some of them, but this was actually colors. Like it would be like looking at a rainbow.
Huh.
And some of them were black and white, but said a lot of times they would
Yeah.
try to go with the blues and stuff of the sea, and then they'd go with the big oranges and bright colors because, from a distance you couldn't tell, where it was, what it was, or anything else.
Yep.
It's called
So-
Dazzle.
Making me sick. Like to look at that, like it's making me dizzy.
Yeah, it is bedazzled.
Exactly. It's called Dazzle Camouflage, and it does exactly what Morgana just said. It confuses your eye such that you can't tell distance. And so if you're in a submarine and you're trying to sink a ship and you're saying, hey, that's 3,000 yards away, and it's actually 8,000 yards away, that's a huge thing for a torpedo and a gunner to deal with. So it makes sense. It makes sense that they would be able to put that. That's why they called it Dazzle Camouflage, because it tricks your eyes.
Yep.
I don't know why this just popped in my head, but did you all ever hear about the Japanese kamikaze torpedoes? Like they would put people in the torpedo chambers with the torpedoes and shoot them, and they'd have to guide the torpedoes.
No, it's crazy.
Yeah, apparently that's something that happened.
That's a lot of pressure.
Well, the good news is you're never going to get repercussions either way because either you hit the target or you sink to the bottom of the ocean. So.
Wow.
Dad, I got this new job. You're gonna put me in a torpedo tube, and they gave me a steering wheel. It sucks, but hey,
Pay's really good.
Yeah. Hey, my son actually came to me one time and said, I'm thinking about changing careers. At the time he was in the Air Force, and he's like, well, yeah, one of the things I'm looking at is disabling mines. And I'm like, pick something else.
I know a guy that does that. He supposedly doesn't work.
Now you know too.
Oh, nice.
I did UXO mark out for
That's
8 to 12
terrifying.
years. Yeah.
he's got a dog. He's got a dog that he watches too that apparently helps him with it. Whenever his dog retires, he's going to retire, he said. But that sounds scary as hell to me. I was like, do you work for the military? He's like, no. I was like, do you work for the CIA? He's like, mm-mm. I said, who do you work for? He said, I was like, that's scary.
All my stuff was underwater. And I was talking to Tully about this last night. All my stuff was underwater when I did it. And then I met my wife, and I was like, "Yep, I don't want to get blown up, so I'm gonna stop doing that." If you guys look up a company called Aqua Survey, they do a lot of UXO markout, and what that is unexploded ordnance, and they go to say, "There it is," and either they get it or the military gets it. Usually it's them, or they detonate it. And you would be amazed at how much there is just all over the world. They find every year they find 2 tons of mines and unexploded ordnance in France, just on the ground, just walking around. Hey, what's that? That's a mine. Don't touch it. That type of thing. So,
I'm glad we didn't have shit like that in southeastern Kentucky. We'd be like, let's throw rocks at it.
Yeah, for sure. The green glow kind of definitely reminds me of some Chernobyl-esque things, though. Like, I don't know if you guys have seen the show. Have you seen the show Chernobyl? Like where they recreate it and it's got the glow and everything?
I haven't seen the show, but I'm your best buddy because I've been there. I've been to Pripyat. So,
well, if you've been there, then
I didn't see any green glow.
No?
No, we were very limited in where we could go. And it was a while ago. I don't remember the year.
Did you see deformed dogs?
No, we didn't see any
the
crazy
headless
wildlife. No, nothing like that. It was I walked into a hospital and I got to see a school and a park and it was very expensive. It was really cool. It was deathly quiet. There was no wildlife around, or if it was, they didn't come out. But it was a good trip. Like I said, it was very expensive.
I'm sure they was watching.
Yeah.
But yeah, so in the show they recreate the moment that it happened, and like the next day, there's a helicopter that flies directly over where the meltdown happened, and it looks like a green glow in the air from all of the radiation, and it was so much radiation that the helicopter failed because it was directly over it. And I don't know whether there were any survivors or not. But
I'd like to see the elephant's foot.
Yeah, nobody sees that.
Whenever I found out I'm terminally ill, I'm gonna be like, I want to see that.
You won't see it for long.
Wasn't it?
I get to enjoy it.
Didn't they have to entomb it because of the water that was getting down to it?
Yes.
Dang.
See, all that's crazy to me.
I never get to do anything fun.
But like I said, most things that have a greenish glow don't end well. I mean, even as far as antifreeze, So, when you talk about, a ship having a green glow or, anything like that, like I said, what is it? Radiation?
Yeah, something. I would be curious if any of them had radiation poisoning or symptoms of it afterwards.
That's what I was thinking too, because if, they probably did have to use a lot of radiation to do something like that. And the people that were just kind of like falling apart, that's kind of radiation poisoning.
Yeah, exactly.
In the 40s, there was no spatial awareness of the magnitude that would affect somebody. Even at Chernobyl.
People use radium to whiten their teeth.
Do you actually know if that works? Because I got some yellow teeth. Radium gum.
Things off mine.
Last resort. I'd save that for last.
They're white, but they fell right out.
That's it.
You just hold them out. See, they're white. Hold them in your palm.
I have teeth. Excuse me.
But yeah, like I said, it's but as I asked earlier, and we went off on what it was and everything, I know that there is besides the Vatican, that there is somewhere in this country and probably every other major country that has all this stuff hidden, that the rest of us know is there, but we can't prove it's there because we don't know where there is.
City
And
of London and the Smithsonian
Yeah.
and the Vatican.
Mhm.
And White House 13 or 18. Which one is
13. 13. Yeah.
it?
That's one of my favorite places.
So my understanding of the reason that people even know about this is that they weren't masking their communications, and there were boats that could overhear their conversations, and that's also used to debunk it. If you look into the people debunking it, they just write it off as they just misunderstood what was going on.
Yeah.
But if you think about like all these black operations, I'm sure there's much crazier things that go on than trying to make a boat disappear.
Oh yeah. Well, that's Stephen sent me an article before we got started talking about Tesla and time travel and everything. So I got started on it, but I didn't get to get deep into it.
Yeah. With that, Tesla said that he got hit with 3.5 million volts of electricity. It jumped 3 feet and hit him in the shoulder. And during that time, if it hadn't been for his assistant immediately turning off the electricity, it would have killed him. And supposedly in the article, he claims that he could see the past, the present, and the future all at the same time. So
yeah, but that would follow. That would make sense. Because with that much electricity, you're talking a lot of electromagnetism.
yes,
and with that mixing with gravity, right back to unified field theory, you would be able to be in more than one place at the same time, which is theoretically what happened during the Philadelphia experiment.
How does that? Go ahead.
He supposedly made a device for that too, to see past, present, and future. There was somebody else that made a box like that too, that you could apparently see like Christ on the cross and whatnot.
Well, that's one of the conspiracies for current world events, is that still exists today, and they're looking briefly into the future and making adjustments in real time to try to manipulate it.
Right. Yeah.
Go ahead.
Nikola Tesla got shot with electric. He's a gangster, ain't he?
Yeah.
Sorry, Steve.
Cecil, I think it was Von Braun who claimed to have had the photo.
Yeah.
I think.
Von Braun, he was the one that confirmed the dome, ain't he?
Yeah.
It's on his gravestone.
It's on the stone. Psalms 111, son.
Look, there, Arthur C. Clarke and I think Stephen Baker was the other writer, put out a book. It's been 15 years ago, probably, called The Light of Other Days. And the premise basically was that they found a way to make a wormhole, and they started out just like sending something, say from here to one of you guys, just little things, using it as transport and everything. And by the time they go through everything, they have disproven most of history. Every religion has fallen because they figure out how to manipulate it to go back in time and see these events as they happened and everything. So, it's a really interesting book. Like I said, I had not found anything that kind of hit that same thing, but it's back to that, the Victor writes the story and everything.
Yeah.
So yeah, it was wild.
Yeah, and when it comes to history too, like I say it all the time, you could literally change history with one generation if you did it properly.
Yeah, of course. Yeah.
Like, and we honestly living now have no idea what it was like in the 1800s. We have this fantasy drawn out by what they say happened. But if you think about it, like Stalin erased people from history, like just completely erased them. Like had photographs of him with his homies, and then just one by one, that photograph lost people. like, and that just never existed anymore. It's kind of crazy to think about the things that could have happened, and like in 1,000 years from word of mouth, how different it changed. Like, and think about this when it comes to the religions. In 1,000 years, if humankind's still around, Star Wars may be the prominent religion. It's like it really is. Like it's
for
as popular.
the world affairs or world fairs stuff. I know Cecil brought up Tartaria earlier. Apparently, all of that architecture is like one of the theories is it's from a global empire that covered not just the Americas, but where Rome is, and like I think there's evidence of it on every continent, if I'm not mistaken.
So maybe before the continents separated?
Could be, or maybe before the, whenever the Great Flood did happen, maybe, someone had achieved world either domination or peace.
Well, it's kind of the thing with the pyramids, like the Aztecian pyramids look just like the pyramids in China, with the stepstones. Like, how can let's say there were two different designers, how could they have like the exact same design for a pyramid,
And all beyond ley lines.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right.
Cambodia.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Strange how it just travels around. And I don't know, it's a unique world. If you guys want to hear a fun theory about Tartaria, apparently they had ancient technology, like an ancient technology was as advanced as ours now. And there is a theory that the Titanic was part of the Tartarian Empire, and it was about 400 years old when they sank it.
I have not heard that theory.
That's one of the more far out ones. Another one is that all the mountains you see used to be castles for giants.
Well, we talked about giants a couple of weeks ago.
Yeah.
I haven't heard the thing about castles, but I have heard, I think we brought up like those standalone mountains that you see out in the desert that look like they could be, giant tree stumps.
Yeah.
Like way out west, but I haven't heard about castles.
Yeah, melted castles is what it is. And there's kind of evidence behind that. Have you ever seen that city where it looked like they had, like, the outside of it looks like kind of like a Romanesque era cathedral building, like with the columns and everything, but it's covered by mountain. Like it looks like the mountain melted into it.
You mean it's built into the mountain?
Yeah.
Talking about a Native American building?
Yeah.
Yeah, I can't remember.
I can't remember the name of it.
Hopi's? Was it Hopi's? I can't
It might
remember.
have been. I can't remember the name of it.
No.
Yeah, I have seen it.
I'm not a smart man. Oh, I snorted.
Yeah, that's actually in Colorado, I believe, isn't it?
Yeah, I'm Googling it now.
The place I'm thinking of might be in America, but I feel like it was in a different country. Oh my god.
Oh, okay, yeah. There's also another place south of Israel where that's at.
Like the outside is pretty intricate.
Yes, it's built right into the huge rock face.
The cliff dwellings of Mesa Verde are some of the most notable and best preserved in the North American continent. Sometime during the late 1190s, after primarily living on the Mesa top for 600 years, many ancestral Pueblo people began living in the Pueblos they built beneath the overhanging cliffs. I can read.
Or so they say.
Yeah, right?
But the reason I bring up Tartaria at all is because when it comes to the Philadelphia Experiment, any kind of technology they were using was brought more than likely from Tesla, who I believe got his everything from the Tartarian Empire.
Yeah, I have a hard time thinking that somebody just comes out of nowhere, like, and conceptually pulls something like that out. Like that, it's very difficult, especially without advanced knowledge already being there. Like someone today who's highly educated in physics and the past, and they could probably have an original idea about something, but just to to fathom something out of nothing. I mean, I guess you did have relativity at the time, which is really the only leg that they stand on, is that he had, you know, Al's shoulder to fall on. But
Mhm.
But you
Right
know,
back to unified field theory. So if you have a lot of electricity, theoretically you can bend light so that it will refract around whatever you want it to, such that when you're looking at what you think you're looking at, you can't see it because the light is moving in a different direction. So if they were trying to do something like that and they screwed it up, which is what we talked about, half an hour ago, who knows what could have happened. So you just get enough electricity and you can theoretically bend light. So whether or not he got that from an ancient civilization, or he was like, just hey, what if we try this? Who knows?
yeah,
Right.
I have a hard time with. I mean, I'm just thinking about us like all in a room, and we're just like, hey, why don't we just see, what happens when we blast 3 million volts into something? Like, just you know what I
Yeah.
mean?
Shit,
Right,
though.
but we don't have the technology or the funds for that. They did, so who knows? Who knows what
Yeah.
they could have come up with, or what they could have done.
well,
I mean,
and here's
invisibility
the
doesn't sound that hard.
yeah, and the thing is, I mean, I can see somebody thinking of these things because I know some of the crap that goes through my mind, but it's the being able to implement it. To have that knowledge and that ability, because I expected to have a damn flying car by now.
Yeah.
I expected to be able to work from here to New York City, with a transformer, and none of
Yeah,
that happened. I'm so disappointed.
Like
Carl
the guy who
Sagan
has
would be pissed.
the patent to walk through walls.
Mhm.
I tried that the other day.
Did it
Walking
work?
through the wall or getting the
No, it
patent.
didn't work.
So I'm sorry I had to interrupt, but I did find a Petra. If you want to look up that, it's south of Israel in the Dead Sea area. That may have been what you were thinking of. But, yeah, and whenever you have that much electricity, what does it do to a person's mind? Does it do they go crazy because they can't handle that?
That
We are
is
electrical beings.
Right,
Who knows? I mean, too much electricity will obviously kill someone.
right.
But if they could figure out a way to wrap electricity around someone, let's say a Faraday cage, then who knows what would happen to someone inside that Faraday cage with ridiculous amounts of electricity. Theoretically, nothing, because the electricity can't get near them. But who knows what that will do to space-time? Wow.
Yeah,
Well,
it's funny you say that. Like, in my opinion, the only real way for time travel, you would have to have, because in theory, in a perfect vacuum, your cells would break down to, like, I think even beyond an atom. Like, your atoms would even split. Like, so I think that there would have to be some sort of, space component, like the warping component. You know what I mean?
yeah, you're talking about lack of cellular cohesion because of
Yeah.
a vacuum.
Yeah. Just a thought.
It's not a bad thought. It's a good thought.
my wife. That brings up a story. This is off trails. I'm sorry. My wife was asking me if I'd want to be immortal as a vampire, and I chose not to because when the universe finally collapses on itself, imagine being immortal and not being able to die when that happens. God, that suck.
But maybe eventually you would land on an alien planet or something.
And then
Catch a
just
ride
pop
from a
back up.
comet.
Oh, I don't know, man. Whoa.
Cecil and his deep thoughts.
Yeah. I guess you would have to hope that Nibiru was really out there somewhere.
Something, man.
Yeah, no, don't want immortality.
I don't know.
Not unless something drastic changes the world we live in.
Yeah, this place kind of sucks right now.
Yeah, it does. So, Totally lost my train, guys.
That's the reason we don't go live, because I'll be sitting there talking. I'll go and
with the Large Hadron Collider, what I was reading on that, they believe that they can actually send gravity from here into another dimension. Have y'all read any of that?
That sounds like a great idea.
What could go wrong?
Yeah.
Sure.
See that guy's legs dangling?
Oh, you think he might tickle his foot?
Yeah. Oh, man.
Man, there's all kinds of crazy stuff coming out of that collider. Like,
Well, they're firing it back up this month, so we should get some new Mandelas.
Yeah.
Yeah. Will they actually get to open the portals that they want to open up, or stargates or portals or whatever you want to call it?
Yeah, unless they create a singularity, in which case it's been nice talking to you guys. Talking about infinite gravity.
when we were talking about giants, that the giant in, was it Afghanistan?
Yes.
the redheaded double-toothed giant.
Yeah, so apparently that giant was close to a site where there was supposed to be a Stargate as well. From what I was reading whenever we were doing the research on all that. I don't know if we mentioned that or not.
There's all kinds of stargates in the Middle East. That's where the Cradle of Life happened, really.
Yeah. See, there's supposed to be a Stargate on Mount Graham in southeast Arizona as well.
That'd be fun. Would you walk through a Stargate if you could? Like would you want to see what's on the other side?
I'm pretty sure I wouldn't walk through a door if I found one in the woods.
I would.
Yeah. So that goes even beyond what we were talking about teleportation and time space. You have a sustainable source of just like static energy there.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, maybe it takes something to stimulate it now, but at some point there was somebody that made that. You know, it's just
theoretically possible. Again, should I say it one more time? Unified field theory.
I actually have that on my list of stuff to research. Thank you for that.
Yeah. Well, wasn't unified field theory? Wasn't that what Einstein came up with in 1905, and where he believed if you could send someone into outer twins, one stayed on Earth and one went to outer space. I forget the.
Yeah, I mean that's part of it. Basically, what it states is that gravity and electromagnetism are two different fields, and that's a scientific fact. But what he said is that if you could combine those, unified field theory, then you could do some cool shit. So
yeah, but because gravity affects time.
Of course.
Yes.
Are we about to have our own crying interstellar moment right now? We're looking through the bookcase.
Didn't something happen to where we sent an astronaut into space? And, and when they came back, their DNA was altered from their twin?
I don't know.
That bald gentleman, I forget his name. Like he was shorter and everything. Like it's crazy.
So if
you
space,
you lose mass when you're in space for a certain amount of time.
Yeah.
So if space isn't real, Cecil, are they just going really close to the firmament?
Yeah.
Well, with the Russian cosmonaut, I think he stayed on the space station for 800 and something days.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, he's like this big now. That's pretty cool. He's just running around with the mice.
Yeah. So do you think they figured it out, Cecil?
Yeah, I think they figured it out. I'm pretty confident that anything like this is probably real, because I watched a video one time and you can see this, that you can't find stuff like this anymore. But totally might remember this one where they show that soldier and he's running across the field and you see him do this and he just fades. And you can still see like an outline of him, and he runs up onto a tank and the hatch door opens and it just drops down in it. Like that's from like 10 years ago. That's like YouTube in its infancy.
Yeah, I think I do remember what you're talking about. It was like, back when YouTube first started, they didn't really censor a lot of the fringe topics like they do now.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
You could still find lizard people.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah, you have
still
to.
can if you look close enough.
David Icke was right.
There you go.
Gracious. All right. Come on. Finishing thoughts.
It's scary stuff to me. But if this right here, if they were really able to make a time machine where they could go back, if somebody could successfully do that, would they ever give up control of it?
No.
No. I think we should probably start a Gibson Go for a Tesla coil.
Yeah.
Like we just raise a bunch of money because money's really the problem here.
Yes.
We've got all the great minds. We just need an engineer on the team, an engineer and all of our minds and the money, and then we're gonna be, boosting gravity into other people's universes.
We need Scott to break into his old workplace and get those files that Trump's uncle.
Hey, Musk.
So,
Musk is a
schematics.
4-letter word. You should call Elon. He's got 2 4-letter words.
Yes.
Call Elon Musk. He's in.
because Trump's uncle is the one that took all of Tesla's files. That's true. T-Rump.
What is it? Wasn't it his grandfather or something?
It was his uncle.
Oh,
And, yeah, his uncle took all Tesla's files whenever he worked for the FBI or the CIA.
Mhm. Yeah. Yeah. Supposedly the 80 boxes of files that Tesla had only 60 of them were gathered up.
Yeah.
So apparently 20 of them were missing.
Poor Tesla was screwed all around in life and in death, wasn't he?
You know,
Oh, yeah.
Boys and girls, I have to flee. My son needs a ride home.
Okay.
But this was really fun.
Oh,
And I would
Yeah.
like to do it again sometime.
Yeah. It's a
Absolutely.
pleasure
Nice to
meeting
meet you,
you, Rich.
Steven. Same.
see you, Rich.
Take
Bye.
care, guys.
yeah,
was fun.
me too. All right. Tully?
I don't know. I mean, there's just so many unknowns other than, the actual facts. Because now, and this is just how YouTube is now, but if you go on and top it, anything about this end, all you're going to see for the majority, you'll have some people who will be like, and these are the conspiracy theories. And then they spend the other 75% of the video trying to debunk it.
Yes.
I think that people like ourselves who want to have an honest conversation about, theories, we're relegated to, kind of our corner of the internet at this point.
Mm-hmm.
But I think it's all cool. Like I will be interested to cover other experiments with y'all in the future.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, like I said, I can remember, even, well, not so much when you had to pay for it by the hour because AOL was expensive if you, researched fringe topics. But once you could start, getting on there, I can remember spending hours and hours, and it's just like you'd go down one hole and then branch off into another one.
You guys are going to have to hang out for a second after the show because I'm going to show you, or I'm at least going to send you the link to I've been looking into the dead internet theory, which is you reminded me with the AOL reference. But yeah, there's a video you guys have to watch for sure.
Okay, cool.
Okay. Yeah.
But yeah, like I said, I mean, it was just amazing how much more information you could find, or information that wasn't cloudy like so much of it is
Right.
now,
Yeah.
So
You can still find it. You just have to go to an alternate platform.
yeah. Yep.
And you also encounter the crazies. I was talking to Cecil about that earlier. It's like you go to some of these alternate platforms and you have people who are legitimately like out in the middle of the universe somewhere, like just crazy talk, like padded room type people.
Hey, look, the only thing that's kept me out of the padded room is I'm claustrophobic. So
Well, we're all with you, but think about us. Like
really out
all the way gone, like like all the way, like Guantanamo Bay gone.
there. Yeah. But yeah, it's funny. Back years ago, it's like I've known Hadley for about 20, 22 years, something like that. And we had a huge group that we'd get around together about once a month and have these conversations. We'd have them throughout, on Yahoo and stuff like that. But then we'd get together as a group and discuss things. And we were talking about, what kind of trust you put in a certain group of your friends. You've got different levels and everything. I'm like, good. You guys, y'all have the key to my damn padded cell. So, I'm like, but here's the thing. Y'all need to promise me something. If I ever go off the deep end on a killing spree, just get on the damn stand and say, we've been trying to tell you for years she's batshit crazy.
That's funny.
Because, like I said, there are people you can talk about these things with. There are some that you're like, no, we're not going to discuss this.
Right.
Same.
Yeah,
I keep about 95% of the stuff to myself that runs through my head.
yeah. A lot of the stuff, it's too much for a lot of people.
I like having talks with Tully whenever I'm coming on these. He's giving me a list of things I'm not allowed to say.
Yeah.
He
It's
corrects
crazy
me every once in a while too, Cecil. So.
because even my wife, like, if I bring up something, she has this saying. So if I start going down the rabbit hole or something, because she's definitely not into any of this, she'll just look at me and say, "Thank you for bringing that to my attention," and just walk off.
Okay, so here's what's going to happen if we ever do get together. She can sit around with my husband. We can sit in the other room and talk.
It's always fun.
The same way.
It's always fun to be screaming at your spouse. It's a conspiracy, I'll tell you. Listen to what they're doing.
Yeah. I tell you what, though, I mean, with all the conspiracies that have come true here in the past few years, I'm having less confidence in some of this other stuff. Actually, just being a conspiracy.
When I started talking about getting like emergency heat sources and emergency food, like that's when I get the looks. That's like what are you doing? Like I'd rather have it and not need it.
Exactly.
Absolutely.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Now, hey, he does get with me on that. He's all about, let's put up some extra stuff, have a stash of ammo over here and all that good stuff.
Mm-hmm.
But, when you start getting into the deep conspiracies, he's just like, okay.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. I like always referring back to that, saying just because you're paranoid does not mean they're not watching you.
Yeah. That's right.
It's funny you say that. I saw today so how contractors for like apartments and stuff would literally just paint over the outlet facings.
Yeah.
So they had painted over with the brush, and I guess one of the bristles in the paintbrush had broken off in the paint. This guy pulls the bristle off of there and starts his video, and he's like, "I told you that they were watching." And he's like, and he shows where he pulled it out, and everybody in the comments is like, "Dude, you need to go report this to the hospital immediately. They're definitely watching you."
I believe him, though. You never know what they got.
All right, guys. We're going to wrap it. Tell everybody where they can find you.
If you want to catch us, we've not put out any content since November, but that's going to change soon. We're in the Folk on YouTube, BitChute. We're going to be on something new. What's it called?
Rumble.
All listening platforms, blah, 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 etc., etc.
I'm looking forward to it. I've missed you guys.
Yeah, it'll be fun.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
I didn't feel pretty anymore. I had to start wearing makeup. And I had to get good at it before I can go on camera.
You do like I do, and you make you an avatar where you're cute. Hey,
I've always been a damn good looking man. It's weird.
Damn, I should have worn my boots. Do you have anything going on, Stephen?
No, not really. I guess next week I will be out of pocket next week. So
No.
I'll be going to Tennessee, Kentucky.
You
Oh,
know,
where you
there-
going?
Huh?
Where you going?
Land between the lakes.
Oh, okay. I'll come down there and see you.
Yeah, come on down, man.
you know that reminds me.
Not too far.
We can talk after this. I'll save that.
No, it's all good. All right, everybody, that's going to be a wrap for this time. We really appreciate you joining us. Tell us what you like. Tell us if there's anything you'd like to hear specifically. You can find us on Linktree at linktr.ee/Weird Realities, and that is weird with a Y. And see you next time.